Gray?
Here.
Mr. Margraff?
Here.
Mr. Long?
Here.
Do we have any conflict of interest statements?
No.
No.
Approval of the minutes of the meeting of January 2nd, 2020.
Motion to defer the reading of January 2nd minutes.
Did we have
I'll
a meeting?
second.
Did we have a meeting?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we did.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item A, correspondence received authorizing a total of $12,000 of mayor's gaming funds for the lane delineators for Dowling Park traffic improvements. It's been signed by the mayor.
Motion to approve the mayor's request.
I'm sorry, my answer was belated, but I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Nice.
Agreement for patrol and enforcement by the Hammond Police Department of parking restrictions for Lear Corporation submitted for approval. Do we know whose signature that is? Oh, okay. All right, this has been signed off by Hammond Police Department.
Yeah, this has been ongoing for a while.
Don't they have a new signal there now?
Yeah, but they want us to enforce in the
I got
parking
you.
lot. They want us to enforce laws in the parking lot, speeding and stuff. like
Okay,
that.
okay. You good? Oh, yeah, okay, I'll motion to approve the agreement with the Hammond Police Department. Blair.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item C, correspondence received from Director of Public Works, Gary Gleason, requesting no truck parking, deliveries only, sign to be placed on the 2100 block of Interstate Plaza Drive, submitted for approval.
Waiting for this one for a while, too.
Where is it, by Aldi's?
Yeah, it's that strip that we need to redo.
Yep.
Okay,
Good with that?
sure. All right, I'll motion to approve of Mr. Gleason's request.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item D, amusement devices, week of January 6, 2020, wow, submitted for approval. I'm going backwards. I don't know.
That seems fair.
Sure does. I'm going to motion to approve the amusement devices submitted for approval.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Item E, right-of-way permit form submitted for approval. Have these been reviewed by
Come on, give us a thumbs up, John.
engineering? Yep. Okay.
Okay.
Why don't you take a look?
All right, thank you, Madam President. He's good. Water service.
Yep.
Okay, got the thumbs up from Mr. Parker. So I'm going to motion to approve the right-of-way permits.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 6, matters from other board members.
Does
Mr. Vice President.
this green sheet go with this? Or they're two separate things, no? Okay, first issue being supplemental number 1 for downtown parking pedestrian enhancement study. This has been, do you want to speak to this, Mr. Button?
I'd be happy to.
Okay.
So this is an extension of an agreement that we have with First Group Engineering. They were hired to do a downtown traffic plan and study, a pedestrian study. We'd taken it to a certain point and realized that we were going to hire Jeff Speck, so they kind of suspended work. At the end of that downtown master plan, it was determined that we would want to do striping improvements for downtown. And we're amending his contract to stop the work that he's doing on the downtown traffic plan because we don't need that right now, and we're doing the striping plan. This is just
When you're saying stopping his, you're saying Mr. Speck's
No,
contract
no,
or
no.
the structure points?
no, the First Group.
I'm sorry, First Group.
Yeah, First Group Engineering's work will now
You-
turn to doing the striping plan as requested by the mayor.
Okay.
So this is.
So the contract here is
Is an additional
supplemental
10,000. Yeah.
to specifically work on the striping
Correct.
projects for downtown. The mayor's gaming is funding it, and we have the signed
Yep.
green sheet for that.
Yep,
Okay.
First group, correct?
yes.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, and it's been vetted by Mr. Smith. I'll motion to approve the supplemental agreement.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Secondly, I have a green sheet here from the mayor authorizing the $10,000 of gaming money to be utilized for supplemental number 1. Do we need to vote on this as well? Okay. I'll motion to approve the mayor's request.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thirdly, let's see, supplemental agreement number 1 for multi-use trail from IHB to Hoffman and Torrance Avenue. This is Mayor's Trail Phase 2, Hammond Sanitary District. Mr. Button?
Yeah, so this is the project that is, we call Mayor's Trail Phase 2, which is actually funded through the sanitary district. They have an approved supplemental environmental plan by IDEM and the Department of Justice as part of the consent decree that they have. They're just funding the money to do the work. The city's working the contracts with the construction contractor and the engineer. So during the course of construction, well, I need to back up. During the course of design, we had hired a firm to do the environmental study on the mercury contamination on the site. Unfortunately, they didn't do all the work that we needed them to do. So during the course of construction, we had to have First Group Engineering handle the management of the environmental work that needed to be done during that process, which is really coordinating the waste characterization of the site. We basically had the material defined, the mercury contaminated area defined, and we're ready to send it to the landfill, and the landfill said, we don't have a waste characterization, meaning you haven't told us everything that could be in the soil. So we had to run that sample. That was done, and we had to, and that was part of this work. And then the engineer, the on-site engineer, had to do the coordination of that. It took much longer than we expected. So this request is to fund that work. We're using the balance of the sanitary district's fund, not all of it, but there's money available that's still in the sanitary district pot of money to fund this work. So we're not going to be going over budget.
2 questions for you, Dean.
Sure.
So first of all, is this work already been completed?
It has.
Okay. And then second, so the way that we worked the agreement with the sanitary district, we kind of took the estimate for the total project, what they were going to contribute, had them transfer that to the city where it sits in a designated account for the specific project. So
Yep.
I know you said that they're going to use the remaining funds there, but is that going to result in a shortfall later on in the
No.
project due to?
No, but we have to use all of the money to meet the commitment that we have with IDEM. So
Right,
we
but down,
may
so
end
what
up-
we did was we designated the
Right,
fund and
right.
created separate accounts within it from all the different funding sources to
Right.
cover the entire cost of the project. So if we're going to designate this supplemental work as part of sanitary district's contribution to the project, does that mean down the road, when we get to the completion of the project, that we're going to be short X amount of dollars that went towards this environmental additional supplemental work?
No.
No, okay. Okay.
So the cost of this is obviously covered in revenue that's there right now?
Right. We are underspent right now, projected to underspend. The contract itself for the construction contractor is under budget.
Okay.
When we first went to contracting, we've had a change order come through so far, but we're still under budget. There is a sufficient amount of money in that fund to cover this cost and more.
The cost
Okay.
being $17,520.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, I'll motion to approve supplemental agreement number 1.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, have a personnel matter from the Hammond Police Department, disciplinary action taken, and I will just motion to approve.
I'm going to ask that he abstain from this one, so if
Okay.
you want to recommend it, I'll come.
Thank you.
Happy Law Enforcement Day.
Thank you.
That was under,
Belated or
it's supposed to be
legitimate?
from matters from other department heads or the representatives. Mr. Kelly?
I will recommend we accept the police chief's letter in regards to the personnel matter.
And I'll concur.
And
You want me to take it? All right. From our Deputy Chief, Margraf. Yeah, it would be a personnel matter from the fire department. I will recommend that we accept the recommendation from the fire department.
And I'll concur.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anything else?
Swiss watch, man. No, that's all for me. Thank you.
Okay. Matters from other departments or the representatives? Any new business? Any old business? The meeting is open to the public. Does anyone wish to speak today? Sir, you can approach the podium. Good morning, Mr. Higgs.
Good morning. I am here on behalf of one of my past constituents about the parking right here on Erie Street. They're doing construction with Hammond High School, and he's having a problem with being able to park on his street, and all kinds of litter and debris is being distributed on the streets and in the alleys, and he's wondering if there's something can be done, if code enforcement or they need residential parking being placed there. So he's here and he can speak on behalf of.
Good morning, sir. Can you
Good
state your
morning.
name
How
for
are
us,
you?
please?
Excuse me.
Can you state your name for us?
My name is Ed Waters. Yeah, I've been residing on the 5800 block of South Erie Street. There's been a sort of ongoing problem here, probably within the last year or so, especially with the new construction in the high school. I haven't brought it to anybody's attention as of yet because it was a concern that started on a lower level, then it's sort of grew over the amount of time. The problem I have right now is that, I can't park. If I move, there's some issues with parking, and then at night, if they're holding
Is
games.
it like the construction crews vehicles parking
actually,
there, or?
there are students, visitors, maybe
Because their
school
parking's
faculty.
been kind of limited? They're
Yeah,
moved
it's
out to
really
the way?
limited. And one of my biggest concerns is, every day, especially during the summer months or the warmer months, I come home or come outside and there's garbage from people's cars, there are people who come in, really loud music. I've spoken with a couple people, just, trying to be neighborly about it, to no avail. I mean, nothing gets done. There was an incident probably last week. One of the young ladies came in the park. I guess she was late for school, so she parked them on the curb and came back out. And the next day, her car was still sort of parked awkwardly. But like I said, it's an issue with me just because I know we share the streets. But my main concern is, if my wife comes home, if somebody comes to visit, there's no adequate parking, you can't park, and it's down the street, all the way down the block, so I'm just trying to get some type of resolution, especially with the winter coming in right now, setting in with the snow, and I know it's gonna be an issue, so I'm just trying to find some type of resolution, some, medium where I can be at. My wife comes home, if I got stuff to bring in the house, I can't bring it in the house.
Do they have designated, school parking right now in alternate locations that you don't think so?
Is the problem mostly during school hours?
Yeah, it's mostly during the school hours, and well, it's not as big as a problem but if the kids are say have after school projects, anything, there's some lingering effect from that. If there are games or something like that,
Captain Long, in the past, to get residential, you get a petition, right? Or through the councilman.
Yeah, and we'd have to forward it to Gary Gleason, but The issue is probably only related to the construction. I mean, you didn't have this problem before construction, right?
Oh, no, it's due to construction mainly. There are some spots, I mean, over the years, we get a lot of out-of-state parking too. You know, students coming to Hammond High School with, out-of-state parking plates, the block. And before the construction, they were the main ones who were parking on the street, It wasn't a big issue. I thought maybe something eventually was going to get done about it. But like I said, with the construction now, it's sort of compounded everything, And like I said, one of my main concerns, I came home one day and there was just trash. Every day there's something on the street, And it shouldn't be my concern. People open their doors, kids don't care, I sort of take pride in my property. It's an older community, but I still sort of take pride, in the upkeep, of, at least where I'm living at and around where I live and reside. So, like I said, the biggest problem right now, it's going to be a real concern to me, especially going into winter months, because parking is at a minimum when it snows, And I'm not saying this to be a bad neighbor. I got a neighbor who has vehicles parked on the street too, and he's got a bunch of vehicles, that he uses and sells, and it seems like in the past, if I had an issue, I've been cited a couple times. Say, for instance, when my kids, they would leave their vehicles in the back of the house. They weren't driving them. I got 3 kids. They're grown now, but, say they got a new car. My place was the place they sort of left their vehicle at. But in the past, they were cited. But I got a neighbor who has continuously like 4 or 5 cars on the street right now, they're not plated. And I'm like, how's this going on, That's sort of contributing to the overwhelming parking, too, because it's like, well, when his cars are sitting there and then other vehicles come, it becomes a really issue, It's a real issue.
Sir, do you have a smartphone?
Yeah.
Do you have our 311 app?
Person, though, but
Do you have our 311 app?
311?
Yeah, the Hammond.
No, I can actually.
I would download that for that particular situation because
Right.
that is a violation. So if it's on this, obviously the vehicle has to be there when the cops show up. So that would be a really good use of the app it
Okay.
can be anonymous. You can take a picture and it'll be submitted directly to the police department and they can come and tag those vehicles.
Right.
I think with this particular situation, it sounds like the biggest problem here has to do with construction and the student parking.
Exactly.
So maybe we can send a letter to the school city and just let them know that we are getting some residential complaints, and if they can cooperate with us to steer the students to a designated parking location, maybe have a little bit of a police presence there.
And see, I'm not to stop to interrupt you. Now, the street behind me between the Civic Center and where I live, it seems like they can utilize that for parking, temporary parking.
I know there's students, right? They're going to park as close as they can to run to
Yeah,
the school
that's what I'm
late. So
saying.
if we could
I know.
try to get them, work with the school city to, enforce their parking locations.
Right.
And then if it continues to be an issue, then we will also forward this complaint to your district councilman.
Yeah.
Because it does require signatures from the neighborhood.
Right.
And then it would go
That
through
was
the
my next
process.
step. That was actually my next step. I just wanted to come in. My wife, she actually talked to an officer the other day. She was coming in with a bunch of packages, and she couldn't park whatsoever. So I think she just stopped an officer on the street or whatever, how she contacted him. And he actually, sort of informed her to come to the meeting just to see if we can get some, something to resolve the issue. So point where I'm here today, my initial step, like I said, I was going to contact my councilman. I just wanted some temporary, resolve until.
We're gonna check, so, Mr. Prieto, Inspections is gonna take the address down of your neighbor with the 4 or 5 cars, because that's a separate issue, okay?
Right.
So after you get done speaking, just see this gentleman here at the end of the table, give him the address, and then are we gonna reach out to School City?
Yeah, we'll send a letter to them.
I surely appreciate it.
And then also to the councilman.
And I'm gonna send somebody over there today, to anybody that's out of state or not plated, broken down, any of those things will be red tagged, so.
Can we
I appreciate
can we
it.
put up a littering sign? Does it
I wonder if
help
we
the
can
police to enforce that?
The litter.
hopefully have, like during construction, they, shouldn't be able to park on Erie Street. I don't know how we're gonna do that, but they will, announce it first at the school.
Because that's really the issue.
Yeah, it's-
Yeah,
The
pretty
street
much.
that's just west of there is where all the workers
Windridge.
park.
Yeah,
so
Windridge.
is where all the,
Yeah, where the workers
so,
park, they park there on Highland. Yeah, and obviously, sir, once the old school gets knocked down, that's gonna be the parking lot.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. But like I said,
But in the meantime, we wanna make sure it's
one of my biggest problems, like I said, going into the winter now, we're talking about really restrictive, being able to park. And I don't know anybody who wants to park, 2 blocks away from where they live, cold winter day. So I appreciate
Send that
you.
notice
Thank
to the school city and to your councilman, and hopefully get you some resolution.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you.
Another one of the issues that I have is that at 1128 Morris, there are 4 vehicles with Illinois plates.
1128?
They've been there for over 4 years. No.
Should do that.
I don't have an app for 311. That's where I'm coming. Well, my responsibility is just to report it, whoever handled it, the department head. Well, all I can do is keep reporting it. And the reality of it is they have Illinois plates, and the problem throughout the entire city, people are moving in throughout our city and are not changing their plates. There's a Burns Act, a law that requires them after 60 days to change their plates. So it needs to be enforced, and that would be additional revenue for the city to start ticketing them residents that have moved here and have not changed their plates. So I would appreciate if the police department or someone could assist with that, because it's ridiculous. They move here and they do not change their plates, and it's ridiculous. There are a number of complexes, not just in the 3rd district, throughout the city, where you see nothing but Illinois plates. And I know at one time the police department would do sweeps once or twice a year. I don't know exactly. They would never, I didn't know exactly what date they did them, but I know they did them in the past. So I would hope that they continue to do that and address this concern, and I'll keep my eyes and ears open to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to speak?
I'm going to motion to adjourn the meeting.
All those in favor? Aye.